What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Will Turbot here for Demand the Truth. Fake Mike, real news. We're not corporately controlled. We don't have the big pharma money, and we're not propagating warmongering based on fraudulent lies of the government. So we're keeping it as real as we can on the low budget right here. Today's going to be a really interesting talk because this is something that I think about a lot. Because if you look at a pie graph of what's in the universe, 95% of it is dark matter. There are other 0.5% are luminous and non-luminous matter. There's a very, very, very tiny fraction of all the matter in the universe, which is the electromagnetic spectrum. And there is X-rays, gamma rays, microwaves, and so forth. And human sight can only see a fraction of that. So we can see a fraction of 0.005% what's going on. So that other stuff for the longest time has been called the ether, the spiritual world, the nether regions, and all that stuff. And people have been scared to talk about that. But now with what's happening in quantum science, where people are just starting to catch up to the stuff that you've known about for a long time, I think it's only appropriate to introduce it to people and get people to start thinking about that, especially my audience as well. So, Caroline, welcome to the show. Why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself?
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm super psyched to be here today. Awesome show. I love your content. I love everything that you are about. So it is really an honor to be here. So I am Caroline the Divine. I am a women's manifestation / life coach. I work with women to empower them to have the lives that they want. I have a large background in addiction, depression, anxiety, PTSD. So whenever that dovetails with manifestation, that is like my ideal place to operate. So thank you so much for having me here on the show. My business is Divine Development. You can find me on Instagram at divinedevelopment_.
So let's start right there with manifestation. It's very interesting. It's something that a lot of people don't know what's really going on. But just like we were talking about how everything in the universe is frequencies, light, radio, television waves, we think we live in a solid physical world, but atoms themselves are predominantly empty space. And what really controls the universe is vibrations. So could you talk a little bit about manifestation and how that relates to vibrations for somebody that wouldn't be aware of that?
Sure, absolutely. So, okay, with manifestation, it started getting a lot of buzz whenever the movie The Secret came out. And so, people were writing themselves checks for $500 million. And they're like, I am going to manifest a BMW in my driveway, right? So we start really trying to focus on pulling these usually material things into our lives. So as you touched on, everything is absolutely a vibration down to the atomic level. We can see that nothing is really solid material. It is all vibration. And so our words have a vibration. Our thoughts have a vibration. Everything, and it's on a sliding scale, right? So we have lower vibrational thoughts. We have higher vibrational thoughts. Usually those are the ones that bring us freedom, bring us joy, happiness. And so the gist of manifestation is about, if I feel good, I'm going to create good things in my life. If I feel bad, I'm going to create negative things in my life that I don't want. And so manifestation is about mastering the self and mastering your thoughts in your inner world to create what you want in your outer world.
And now put that in juxtaposition of the self-limiting beliefs and the negativity that we have. And why do you think that these self-limiting beliefs we have are put into place?
Oh gosh, okay. So when you're born, essentially we are a blank slate, right? We're born as an infant. We really have no beliefs about the world yet or about ourselves. And so when we're being raised by parents who are unconsciously operating out of their own beliefs, a lot of times we can have beliefs instilled in us that we are unlovable, we are not good enough, we're not capable, and we start to believe those beliefs. And so in psychology, they have something called the confirmation bias, which means we look for things that align with our beliefs. Naturally, let's say I love the color yellow. Well, I start noticing all the stuff that's yellow, right? It just sticks out to me because that's what I believe. So when we develop self-limiting beliefs, we start to look for areas in our lives that reconfirm that belief, even if it's a negative one. Let's say I believe I'm not worthy. Well, I'm going to create a bunch of situations in my life that prove I'm not worthy because it aligns with my foundational belief. So in manifestation, it's about identifying those beliefs and working on them at their core, which can just even be as simple as using affirmations. I am worthy. I am beautiful. I am capable. And that energy alone can totally shift the entire foundation of all of the other self-limiting beliefs.
So besides saying these reaffirming things, and I mean, it is true too. I mean, I'm well aware of the secret, the law of attraction, and it is a little bit difficult to get yourself into the repetition and doing it. What would you tell people? Any tricks or tips to manifesting? And what else would you tell people to kind of shift away from that negativity?
Sure. So, okay. I think with manifestation, people can get really caught up on wanting to do things the right way, right? They're like, am I doing it right? I woke up and I said, I'm awesome. And I thought about that Lexus that I want 20 times. Is that the right way? And so we get fixated on being right. And so the true magic happens when you let go of doing things the right way. You let go of your expectations because we get this expectation of what we want the end desire to be, right? I want the BMW. I want to have this job. I want to live in this city, this town. We get super fixated on that end result. And so stepping outside of that and just understanding that it's really about feeling good. It's really about being expansive in any capacity. If you're feeling good, you are in the zone. So dream about what you want, imagine what you want, be open to things changing, be open to shifting if need be, and you will start to see things fall into your path that will make your dream happen. But as long as you're sitting there focusing on, well, this isn't what I want, that's not what I wanted, right? If we focus on what we don't want, we're going to bring more of that into our life. So it's about feeling good. It's about focusing on what you want, but having it be like loose and fun. If we're focused on the desperation, like let's say, I've got rent due and I'm stressed the, hell out about how I'm going to make rent happen. We're focused on that lack. We're focused on that without. I want money, but I don't have it. So guess what we're going to draw into our lives? We're going to focus more on that not having it, more of that lack, more of that desperation. So it's about rising up to that 30,000 foot view, that 10,000 foot view, and letting everything else fall away. And you will start to have more confirmation, more alignment in your spiritual practice. But it's incredible. Manifestation, like have fun with it. It is sometimes I'll just challenge myself. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to manifest like a Snickers bar today and let's see if it happens. And it does. It may not be a Snickers bar, it may be Reese's, but it's about having that openness and not being attached, right?
Absolutely. Now, I want to talk about this, something I want to talk about on my channel for a very long time. Astrology, I think it's very misunderstood. What is astrology? And like, so most people, let's take it, I guess, from here. Most people are probably familiar with their own sign, right? But they're probably not as aware about the different decans or maybe the rising sign or the fact that these other celestial items also come into play. Could you give people like a broad overview of what astrology is and
Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
vibration as well?
So, okay. So when we're dealing with astrology, this is what I think is funny. First off, let me clear this up. So people read horoscopes that are in like trash magazines or in newspapers, and they're like, well, of course, it says I was born to be happy. That would apply to anybody. Right. Yeah. No, a lot of those are for entertainment. When you get down to the real beliefs behind astrology, we look at something called your birth chart. And your birth chart is literally a snapshot of the heavens, of the sky, the moment that you were born. So you put in your birth location, your time, and your birthday, and it takes a snapshot of where all of the planets were aligned. And how we have it set up, we could really do an entire video just on this, an entire interview on this. So I'm going to try to keep this as nice and tidy as possible.
Yeah, let's give an overview here, but this is a subject I definitely want to discuss at length at another time. But let's set this up for like an overview, because a lot of people, including myself, I'm familiar with my birth chart, but then when it comes to the houses and all this other stuff and how this affects this, I have no idea. So let's lay a little groundwork.
Exactly. Okay. So we have different houses in your birth chart. So when you look at your birth chart, it will literally look like a wheel. Okay. And that wheel has been split up into these different houses. And so we have, and they all correspond with different areas of your life. So, for example, the first house in astrology is the house that deals with you, right? It is all about you as a person, you in your relationship to the world, how you present yourself. So depending on what planets are in that house will have an effect on how you present yourself to the world and how you see yourself in the world. The second house, for example, is the house of money, possessions, earthly things. So planetary alignment throughout your birth chart can give you a good idea of things like your life purpose, your karmic cycle, what you have been sent here to resolve for your soul to evolve. And then, of course, we have the three major components that people look at, which is your sun sign. That gives you a good idea of your personality and kind of the core of who you are. And then you have your moon sign and your rising sign. And those are mostly the main three that people look at, but I highly recommend getting a birth chart reading if you have not had one of those done. It analyzes, I mean, that is the full picture. You can't look at just...
Offer to folks?
Yes, I do. I do offer birth chart readings. I also do past life readings as well as life purpose readings. So
we'll have links in the description if you guys want to have that done. I suggest that you do. It's very interesting. I mean, myself, I'm more of a meat and potatoes, go with only things that I can prove. But as you can see here, everything is vibration. The earth resonates at a specific vibration. Every thought we think has a vibration. And all these celestial bodies have different vibrations. So if certain vibrations are affecting the earth, like we can see with the moon, when it affects not only supposedly crime, but the waves and the female period of gestation. So that's a real effect of something that we can see right there. All these celestial bodies have some type of resonance and they're vibrating at us. So to think that they would have no effect would be kind of silly. So there is an effect happening. And now with quantum science, we're seeing that this actually may be possible. So one of the things I did years ago when I first came across my birth chart is I Googled mine. I was like, that's actually pretty interesting. So that was probably like 6 years ago. I've been taking everybody's birth chart I know, and I've made a little assessment as well as them to see how accurate they think it is. I've been trying to take something quote unquote unscientific, put it to a scientific method. But the majority of folks that I deal with say, hey, this is pretty interesting. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the example I use a lot is these are archetypes. So they're not necessarily like, it could have something to do, and I want to talk about the houses, but for example, if you're a Leo, you could be a really cool Leo who Leos like to be the center of attention and you're awesome on stage and people love you and you're loyal, you'll do anything for your friends. Or you could be a Leo that just loves to hear themselves talk, a total jerk, and is so loyal that you're like stalking your friends, right? So it doesn't mean, we're not trying to pigeonhole, at least I don't think so, people into things, but can you talk about how your three signs interact with the world, the stars, and then also those houses?
Sure, yeah. So, okay, and I just kind of want to piggyback on what you were saying real quick. So if you're going into astrology having doubts about it or feeling skeptical, put it to the test. Test it. Like, I will read other people's astrology information just to see if I feel like it would apply to me, because I want to know, is this something that is my birth chart placement something that's unique to me, or could I find some relatability in everybody's birth chart? And it does get down to very detailed information, even about like relationships with your parents. You know, because of this placement, you will have a very stressful relationship with your father, or you will have a very loving relationship with your mother. It gets very specific. So if you're having doubt or feeling skeptical, go and test it, right? Test it. Put it to the test. Put it to the scientific test, like you were saying. Right. So all planets have a vibration, like you said. They can have an influence in your chart that is either positive or negative depending on where it is and where it is in relationship to all of the other planets and heavenly bodies within that realm. So
can we talk about the different planets and kind of what they represent briefly?
There's really a lot to that, honestly.
Okay.
I would like that. Those are things that I typically cover in my birth chart readings, because here's the thing: a planet, like let's say Jupiter, in one house could be really positive and really amazing, but then if it shifts 90 degrees down to the other side of the chart, it could have something that means something totally different. So I don't want to put a blanket statement on it saying this will always mean this will always mean that, because it does change depending on the interaction on your chart. But come get a reading from me. I would love to work with you. Yeah.
To kind of lay some credence to what you're saying, coincidence or not, my sun's sign is an Aries, and my rising sign is a Libra, and my moon is a Libra. So I've given myself a self-diagnosis here. And outside of all of the courtrooms in the United States, you'll see the scales of Libra, of justice. And it's said about Librans that we can really feel the injustice. We can see the empathies of others. We can put ourselves in other people's shoes. So you have two big Libras there, and I'm seeing this injustice. And then my Aries is my personality. And my Aries is like, I'm going to do something about this injustice. So you can see that combination working. But enough about me. Let's talk about me. I've got a new book out. No, I don't have a new book out yet, but let's talk about this. Now, this is something that affects all of us, not just on a personal level. Depending on who you talk to, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, probably around 2012, we entered the age of Aquarius. Mm-hmm. What the hell does that mean? And do you think that some of the things we're seeing in society are reflective of this new age we're in?
Right. Okay. So the age of Aquarius, I love this. And actually, I was going to say, I would not be surprised if you had a bunch of Aquarian influence in your chart, because Aquarius is known as being the rule breaker, right? Aquarius is about calling people out, calling systems out. It is about large social change. Okay. Aquarius does not give a shit what anyone has to say about rules or society structure in the way that like, oh, well, that's just the way things have always been done. No, Aquarius is here to shake things up. So in 2012, not only did we see the age of Aquarius, right, but we started seeing a shift in the energetic field of the planet. So we went from being a mostly masculine, energetic society and culture to then starting to shift to the divine feminine energy, which you can see has exploded in our society in all kinds of ways, from women being in leadership to the Me Too movement to, we're seeing all of these things start to explode in our society from the force of the feminine energy. One of the things for women that we are noticing in this movement is that we are starting to have to get back in touch with our own feminine energy. Because we have been in such a masculine society for so long, us as women have adapted, right? We adapt to the situations that we're in. And so we've taken on that masculine role. We're like strong women. We want to be, just prove we're one of the guys or whatever. And it's not about that. It's about embracing both sides. And same with men. It's about embracing both sides of your energy. We all have a dynamic there. And so we're seeing it in this collective consciousness. And it's awesome. I'm excited to see where this takes us.
It's awesome unless you are like me and hate man buns. I think some people are taking it a little too far. And we need to retain some masculinity. But no, I totally agree. That's the perfected person who's able to balance both the masculine and feminine energies within them. It doesn't mean wearing a man bun, though. But that's just my own little thing there. Well, and how does meditation play into all of this? Because that also is something that's giving off vibrations, correct?
Yeah, so meditation. I know there's a lot of people who, again, fall into wanting to do things the right way. I've heard a lot of people say, oh, well, I'm not good at meditating. And meditation is about bringing yourself back to your baseline. Whatever your baseline is, if your baseline is up here, great. If it's down here, whatever that means to you, it is about finding your center again. Okay?
So talk to me real quick. I'm going to steal this to be selfish right here. I'm a very high, strong, high energy person. I find it difficult to sit there and I can't do it sometimes to focus. What would you recommend for somebody like me? Especially, I'm such a high energy person. There's a lot of people out there like that.
Yeah, so I say embrace it. Okay? I think a lot of people get confused about like quieting the mind. It's not about making it silent in there because that would be weird. We're not going to sit there with just like dust floating through our mind. The point is to notice what you're thinking about. Okay? A lot of people have no idea what is going on up here. So it's about just noticing and being neutral. Notice your thoughts. Okay, God, wow, I'm thinking about that a lot. That's interesting. That's really popping through my mind a lot. I wonder what that's about. And then you let it go and you let that pass. So, and honestly, there's other things that you can do to meditate without sitting in one spot and just sitting there. Find something that vibes with your energy. You can get out in nature, you can go ride a bike, whatever lets you get into that place where you can just observe yourself. That is the point. So you don't have to listen to gongs and sound bowls and, burn incense for you to get the same benefit of meditation.
That's very good. I think that's a misconception a lot of people have. And you're absolutely right. You got to be able to think about the thoughts that you're having. And that's one of the first things that you have to do, in my opinion. Now, finally, what is on your radar? And also, where do you see the future going? Because, I've been somebody that's been an activist and have been interested in different things down the rabbit hole. Most of the things I focus on my channel is stuff that we can absolutely prove, because I find out like it's difficult enough getting people to realize this stuff. But this is such an important component. And this is, quite frankly, if everybody watching my channel understood the power of intention and manifestation, I wouldn't have to do a channel anymore ever again. So that's the ultimate goal. And that this is all backed up by quantum physics. It does seem like we are awakening a little bit more. It does seem like some of the societal norms, the old traditions are being questioned. Is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Where do you think we go in the future? And what, if anything else, is on your mind?
So, I think questioning anything is a good idea. Question everything, right?
Wow.
Don't just, question everything.
I'm joking. Continue.
Yeah, you're like, so, okay. When it comes to this societal shift, where do I see things going? I have always said world peace starts with inner peace. Our outer world reflects our inner world. So if we're wanting to see a change on a society level, on a global level, yes, it is going to take you doing the work on yourself, me doing the work on myself, Susie Q down the road doing the work on herself, okay? Because what we have going on in here is absolutely going to manifest outward into what we experience. But, I think that gets down to people not wanting to admit that they're wrong, right? We see that in our government. We see that in, it's like no one has the guts to stand up and be like, you know what? I did something wrong here. Let me correct my behavior. And that is where the true guts are. If you can stand up, especially publicly, and admit fault and correct your behavior, fantastic. I will say when it comes to politics, I pray for them. I hope that, they find their own inner way, but there's a whole lot going on there that, I'm not sure if meditation could fix, but, on a personal level, yes. And eventually that will be global, but that's the intention with it.
Yep, you're absolutely right. It's as above, so below. You have to work on yourself. You're not going to change things. You're going to fill up your own cup before you can fill up others. And if we all collectively do our inner work, and do the right thing, we don't have to worry about that. So, and just to your point too, briefly before I let people know the best place to get in touch with you is, you're absolutely right. You need to keep humility and an open mind. People that are able to go down the rabbit hole have that humility to say that they were wrong. I mean, in 2003, I remember when we were invading Iraq, and I was a big ass normie back then. I didn't know, and I still kind of wanted to have an opinion. I was like, well, they might not have WMDs, but Saddam's a bad guy. We got to get him out of there. Little did I know the CIA put him there in the first place, but I had the humility and the open mind to say, oh, I was wrong. I was really, really wrong about this, And if we all have humility and an open mind, then the rest is just an open door to success. So thank you very much, Caroline. What's the best places for people to reach you? I'm going to also put it in the description box here, but again, let people know the best way they can get in touch with you and also the services you provide.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. So I am mostly on Instagram. You can find me at Divine Development _. At Divine Development _. That is where all of my programs are centrally located. I have an awesome, awesome course for women that's starting on this Wednesday, the 18th, December 18th, and it is called You Are a Goddess. This is launching 2 weeks before the new year because we are going to be doing a self-forgiveness, self-love, releasing and letting go ceremony. And then we are going to start 2020 off in a really, really powerful way. So I'm really excited about that. I have several other courses that I offer, anything from setting boundaries, detoxing for your diet, for your body. Go check them out. They're really, really transformative. I've put my heart and soul into this stuff. I also take on one-on-one clients. So if you're interested, hit me up at Divine Development _ on Instagram.
Yep, and I'll also put the link to her YouTube in there and so forth. Thank you for being a very well-spoken and articulate guest. I appreciate what you do. Hopefully we can have you back on to have some more in-depth discussions about this ethereal spiritual world, which is the predominant world, but which people aren't aware of. And like I said earlier, if people would figure some of this stuff out, we wouldn't have to worry so much about the corrupt politicians and the wars and stuff. So, yes. Caroline, thank you again, and you have a great new year. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care.